Hello everyone, we'll talk about virtual reality today. Virtual reality, or VR, refers to computer technologies that use software to generate realistic images, sounds, and other sensations that replicate an almost real environment. VR has been defined as a realistic and immersive simulation of the three-dimensional environment created using interactive software and hardware, and it is experienced or controlled by movement of the body. So a person using virtual reality equipment is able to look around the artificial world and interact with features or items that are depicted on a screen or in goggles. Virtual realities artificially create sensory experiences, which can include sight, touch, hearing, and less commonly smell. Most modern virtual realities are displayed either on a computer monitor or a projector screen with a virtual reality headset, which is also called head-mounted display or HMD. HMDs typically take the form of head-mounted goggles with a screen in front of the eyes. Virtual reality brings the users into the digital world by cutting off outside. Actually, people have used the media for centuries, but today's media has become perceptually convincing. Virtual reality can fool the brain into believing that digital events are actually occurring. This has drastic implications for social interaction, education, entertainment, and just about every facet of life. Let's move on to the origin of the virtual world. Virtual has a meaning of being something in essence or effect, so not actually, since the mid-1400s. The term virtual has been used in the computer sense of not physically existing but made to appear by software since 1959. And for the history of the virtual reality, in 1968, Ivan Sunderland, with the help of his students, created what was widely considered to be the first head-mounted display system for use in immersive simulation applications. It was both in terms of user interface and visual realism, and the HMD to be worn by the user was so heavy that it had to be suspended from the ceiling. And then the virtual reality industry mainly provided VR devices for medical area, flight simulation, and military training purposes from 1970 to 1990. The 1990s saw the first commercial releases of consumer headsets. In 1991, Sega announced the Sega VR headset for household gaming. In the same year, Virtuality launched and went on to become the first multiplayer VR entertainment system that was released in many countries. So, if you are looking for a truly immersive gaming experience that will allow you to leave the real world behind, virtual reality will allow you to do just that. But at the same time, virtual reality may bring you some negative effect on physical. When you are in the VR world, it can take as few as 30 minutes to lose your sense of spatial awareness in this one. Your brain may be able to quickly adapt to inhabit the virtual world, but your body will still remain in this physical reality. And so will the worlds you can walk into and sleep, trip, and for hazard. As virtual reality continues to soar in popularity, so does cases where the use of VR resulted in injury. Gaming in the virtual reality world is not without its risks. Users of virtual reality games have reported a host of troubling effects, including damage to their vision, disorientation, and even seizures. In addition to this, using VR carries a very real risk of injury. Players have suffered from broken bones, torn ligaments, and even electric shocks. Pokemon Go is an example. It is a popular augmented reality game that has already seen more than its share of injuries among its users. Take a look at the following examples to see the variety of ways these injuries can occur. And here comes about the relationship between virtual reality and personal injury law. There have been many personal injury lawsuits filed against Nintendo over injuries that resulted from playing Pokemon Go. But manufacturers and designers may not be the only potentially liable parties in these cases. Certainly, in cases like the examples above, to some extent, the liability rests with the player. In the case of virtual reality injuries, the player could be liable. For example, they fell while playing the game, but actually they fell over a hazard in their own home. And for another, the manufacturer and the designer could also be liable for not studying the psychological ramifications and the long-term side effects of using this technology. So when it comes to virtual reality, warning labels alone may not be enough to keep players safe. It is important to use common sense whenever you are using VR, but it is also imperative that designers and manufacturers consider how their products are likely to be used and address any safety issues before they are released to the public. The researchers also highlighted another potential problem, which is we don't know the consequences and the psychological impact of using virtual reality and of transitioning from virtual reality to the real world. Let's imagine that after a stressful and emotional experience in virtual reality, you take off the headset and suddenly enter a completely different real world. In fact, we are not good at quickly adjusting to behavioral and emotional regulation. When you go back to the real world again, especially after repeated exposure to virtual reality, you may suffer disruptions in multiple areas, which are cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. Social isolation is another problem, which also refers to escaping from physical reality. Which is true that active use of VR can force users to lose social face-to-face contact with other people, thus disconnecting people from social interaction. For more educated audiences, the side effects of temporary addiction are relatively minor, and it is relatively easy to escape from the illusory realm and even learn to work with the technology. However, for the less educated, especially the teenagers and the less educated who have little knowledge of the outside world, the side effects of being addicted to the virtual world are often significant, and they are more likely to be confused by the desirable satisfaction of the virtual world, and eventually to have a psychological and moral transformation and problems. To summarize, we cannot deny that virtual reality is a great invention. However, it has both pros and cons on humans physically and mentally. Only when we look at the virtual reality technology critically and try to grasp the essence of virtual reality technology, we can better develop the positive effects and suppress its negative effects. Thank you for attending.